Traffic control in construction areas is crucial to the safety of the traveling public and workers. A detailed and comprehensive traffic control plan will ensure that construction workers know what to do to provide a safe and efficient work zone. But they must carry out the plan properly, or they will jeopardize the safety of drivers, pedestrians, and workers, and increase the highway agency's potential liability. Basically, work zone traffic control has three purposes: to provide a smooth, orderly flow of traffic with minimum inconvenience to the public, to prevent injuries to workers and the public, and to avoid property and equipment damage. In this program, we will cover the installation, inspection, and maintenance of traffic control devices at a basic work site based on a traffic control plan. The installation of traffic control devices must be considered in terms of location or position, then in terms of advanced placement and lateral clearance. Always consider the driver's perspective when locating devices. What will the driver see? Will the devices be noticeable? Will there be so many they will confuse? Will there be enough time to respond? How devices are placed along a roadway is guided by a number of factors. Advanced placement is critical. It must provide the driver adequate notice of a required response. Placement is based on an established order of priority, from the most important on down. First, regulatory devices. They control speed limit, stops, and turn prohibitions. Then, warning devices. They handle such things as curves, crossroads, and narrow bridges. Followed by guide, emergency, services, public transportation, and general information devices. Specifically, how far ahead of the work area one of these devices is placed depends on the nature and purpose of the device. Generally, however, here are some guidelines. Meet a need and no more. Be careful not to apply excessive devices. They will only be a distraction. Convey a clear, simple meaning. Traffic control devices should be legible, with brief messages and letters as large as practical. They should be the correct color and shape, and in balanced proportion with surrounding devices, especially when they are in series. Command a driver's respect. Drivers will respect devices if they are suitable for the purpose and conditions, uniform in placement and operation, and in good condition. Maintain credibility. Do not leave signs up when they are unneeded. Lateral clearance, or the distance from the edge of the roadway, is another consideration. Devices should be located so that they do not become roadside hazards. That means putting larger signs behind other barriers, such as guardrails, drums, and traffic attenuators. Let's look at a typical installation. Traffic control device installation is done by the on-site work crew. Their supervisor will have a copy of the proper section of the traffic control plan. It will have descriptions and drawings to go by. First, the supervisor must make sure that no construction personnel or machinery are on the roadway while their workers set up devices. Devices should be placed in the order that drivers will see them. So, starting a mile before the work zone, workers set up warning and regulatory signs. The closer to the work zone, the more specific the signs get. Remember to place them 1.8 meters outside of the shoulder or 0.6 meters behind a curb. Overall, they must be 3.6 meters from the edge of the pavement. Next, the crew puts out cones or drums. The maximum distance in meters between taper devices should be about 1/6 the speed limit in kilometers per hour. Do not close a second lane in close proximity to a first lane closure. If the crew is going to place and remove the devices several times, they should paint a spot on the pavement to make the job easier and the placement uniform from day to day. Temporary pavement markings, such as pressure-sensitive traffic tapes, can be used to provide drivers further guidance. At long-term work zones, raised pavement markers may be desirable. If the planned work affects traffic in two directions, then place signs starting simultaneously from both directions, moving towards the work. If the work diverts traffic into an opposing lane, then place signs first for the opposing traffic. If the work is not going to start immediately, then place the signs starting in any direction, but cover them up as they are put into position. Also, cover or remove existing signs that may conflict with the temporary ones. At all times, roadside safety should be foremost in everyone's mind. Remember to leave a clear roadside area wide enough for vehicles which run off the road. Remember to use channelizing devices which yield on impact. And remember to protect vehicles from excavations left overnight by using positive barriers. Protect pedestrians by using plastic construction fencing. As soon as work is completed, the devices should be removed. Remove them in the opposite order of installation, by starting with devices closest to the work area. Pavement marking removal is a bit more difficult. Removal methods include grinding, burning, chemical treatment, sand blasting, hydroblastic, and high-pressure water jetting. These markings should be removed immediately to avoid driver confusion. Once a work zone is established, it should continue to operate as it was intended, and it should be improved as necessary. For this reason, trained state inspectors are assigned to one or more sites. They are responsible for inspection and ensuring that traffic control devices are properly maintained. And they report to the engineer, who is the designated responsible person. Before going to the site, they should become thoroughly familiar with specifications, special provisions, and plans. Normally, they will have key portions of the traffic control plan available in their vehicle. These inspectors may be assigned to one very large project and work out of a trailer. Or they may have several smaller sites and essentially work only from their vehicle. In either case, they cannot be everywhere every minute. So, crew supervisors are responsible for frequent checks to adjust and replace devices. Every day, however, inspectors should perform a complete inspection of each work site. Let's see what is involved in a typical inspection. How this inspection is conducted depends on such factors as project size and duration, the nature of the work activity, and the complexity of the traffic control plan. Inspections should be done both day and night, during both high and low traffic volume periods, and under various weather conditions. The inspector should check that devices conform to manual and uniform traffic control devices specifications, and that they are functioning properly. In terms of function, are signs positioned most effectively to convey their message? Do barricades and channelizing devices define the work area and a safe path for drivers? Do lighting devices provide sufficient illumination to identify specific hazards? In terms of standards, what is the appearance, positioning, and location of devices? Do they conform with regulations for size, color, and design? Are they spaced properly? Remember, for urban, residential, business districts, for urban arterials and rural roads, and for freeways, the spacing will vary. There are some special situations an inspector needs to watch for as well, such as avoid speed zone differentials greater than 15 kilometers per hour. Make sure there is more advance warning in rural or open highway situations. Be sure to check signs on both sides of roads or one-way streets. Make sure signs are high enough to be seen over heavy traffic. Consider additional devices for areas prone to traffic backup. The inspector also makes sure that there is adequate driver sight distance to devices. This means looking for such items as sight distance to tapers, flaggers with a stop-slow paddle, channelizing devices placed so they are visible from advance warning signs, an adequate number and tall enough channelizing devices, and warning signs supplemented with flags. Occasionally, the inspector will use measuring equipment to verify device placement. If there is a problem, documentation is very important. The inspector should put notes and drawings in a stitched notebook. This inspector's diary becomes a permanent legal record. It may contain record of compliance or non-compliance with the plans or the manual and uniform traffic control devices, traffic control modifications to improve safety, or traffic strategy problems which impede smooth, safe traffic flow. Every time the crew supervisor is notified of a deficiency, there should be a diary entry and a report to the project engineer. If the problem is not corrected on time, there should be a report to the inspector's supervisor. If the inspector disagrees with the crew supervisor, work should be delayed. It cannot start up again until the crew supervisor complies or the work zone is modified by the engineer's decision. Afterward, re-inspection is critical to make sure problems have been corrected. Normally, there is complete agreement and only minor changes in device configurations. Back at the office, the inspector will maintain all reports and records required by the highway agency. These include letters, memos, the traffic control plan, and any other documents related to the work zone. Other areas that the inspector checks include pavement drop-offs, work vehicles, making sure that when they travel on open highway, they obey the same speed limits and other restrictions applying to the public. Also making sure that work vehicles have their strobes or rotating beacons in use if they are within 10 meters of the traveled way. If there is a shadow vehicle protecting the work area, it must be parked 10 meters or more ahead of the work area. In addition, its front wheels must be turned away from the work area, its transmission put in gear or park, its engine must be off, and its emergency brake on. The inspector should also observe traffic flow through the project. If vehicles tend to follow too closely, brake suddenly, form bottlenecks at tapers, back up at detours and speed zones, or suddenly weave into other lanes, then the inspector should instruct the crew supervisor to use some attention-gaining methods. If several of these conditions exist, then the inspector might recommend a revision of the device layout. The inspector should photograph or videotape the traffic control device setup before and after changes are made. As work proceeds, the inspector should make sure the crew removes all signs and devices that no longer apply to the current conditions or construction phase. Devices left overnight should be inspected during hours of darkness at the same frequency as daylight activity. An inspector's job is not complete with the drive-through. The other half of the job involves the maintenance of traffic control devices. The inspector must develop a formal maintenance plan. It should assign crew personnel responsibility for maintenance and indicate how often it should be done. It covers such items as cleaning, repairing, or replacing devices that are destroyed, displaced by vehicles, wind, or workers, malfunctioning or burned out, vandalized, or just dirty and worn. Devices should be replaced with new ones similar in size and type. In addition, the inspector should make sure the crew maintains the roadway surface so it is comfortable and safe for drivers. The maintenance plan should also include a standard reporting form. The form provides a way to report damaged or missing devices. It helps maintain an adequate inventory for emergency replacement. The inspector is also responsible for investigating and reporting accidents in the worksite area. This means reviewing accident reports, observing site factors such as skid marks, determining if the work zone is related to the cause, and considering if the traffic control device scheme needs modification. In this program, we have covered the installation, inspection, and maintenance of traffic control devices at a basic work site, based on a traffic control plan. Always consider the driver's perspective when locating devices. What will the driver see? Will the devices be noticeable? Will there be so many they will confuse? Will there be enough time to respond? How devices are placed along a roadway is guided by a number of factors. Advanced placement is critical. It must provide the driver adequate notice of a required response. Placement is based on an established order of priority, from the most important on down. First, regulatory devices. They control speed limit, stops, and turn prohibitions. Then, warning devices. They handle such things as curves, crossroads, and narrow bridges. Inspections should be done both day and night, during both high and low traffic volume periods, and under various weather conditions. Smaller projects can be inspected by a walkthrough. Larger ones require a drive-through from all directions traffic will approach. In either case, the inspector checks that devices conform to manual and uniform traffic control devices specifications, and that they are functioning properly. An inspector's job also includes maintenance of traffic control devices. The inspector must develop a formal maintenance plan. It should assign crew personnel responsibility for maintenance and indicate how often it should be done. For more information on this subject, check the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices or other similar documents. For more information on other IRF videotapes, call the International Road Federation at the numbers on your screen.